And we're live. Hello, everybody. Woo! Monday, December 19th, 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. Gali, thank you so much, man. So good to have you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Of course, my pleasure. Make sure you can hear us okay. Make sure you can see us okay out in the internet, in the comments section. Yeah, man, just so much going on in the world of Tesla and the world of Elon. Just yesterday, we can talk about the whole Twitter poll thing. We can talk about so much. But last time I spoke to you, Gali, you were, it was a few months ago. I can't remember exactly when. It must have been like at least, when did you start going on sabbatical? What was it, like 3 months ago, something like that?
Maybe like 6 months ago.
It was longer than that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was the last time I talked to you. And it was kind of interesting because at that time, you know, you were starting to go on that journey of sort of starting to go on that sabbatical and, you know, do whatever you needed to do. So I'm really curious to see how that's been for you. You've sort of re-engaged again to the community a little bit, which I've loved to see. So many people look to you as somebody like a voice that understands Tesla very deeply and somebody that they look to for just great content. How was that sabbatical so far? Tell me about it a little bit. Tell the public a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I feel like I miss the whole Tesla community, and it makes me kind of bummed when people are like, Gali, we miss your videos, and I feel like super bummed about that. But no, it's been super fun. Just like not like it's a grind making videos by yourself every day. Like you're in your you're in your studio, you're solo. I did that for years. And yeah, I just was like, okay, I feel like I'm done. Tesla stock went up enough, and like it's time to like travel and think about what I want to do with my life. So I've just been like traveling, and I did also start my venture capital firm. So I feel like even though I was like sabbatical, started a whole new company, but that's kind of it's not really as public, I guess. But yeah, no, things have been good. And honestly, I feel like getting out of the like minutia and following Tesla every day has kind of like, I don't know, it helps me look at it from a more long-term perspective, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been interesting to watch the Tesla community sort of develop from like very kind of like niche, small to like really big and mainstream, and like all these voices and like all this tension, and then like Elon has become such a bigger than life figure. It's crazy that like us following Tesla has kind of at the same time like, you know what I mean? And then I tweet like, I think Elon's getting too political. Like I woke up in my bed and tweeted that. Like I was just like kind of like groggy in the morning, like by myself, like waiting for my friend to pick me up. And then next thing I know, Elon replies and it's like, oh my God, like US politics is happening. Like, you know, it's like, whoa, like
good morning.
Good morning. And I'm like, wow, I love the future we're in. Like,
yeah, man, that must have been yeah, because what's interesting is once you've sort of went on that sabbatical, I did the opposite. I went freaking hardcore into the community when I was on that sort of like 6-month period after leaving Tesla of, you know, I'm so lucky, I'm so fortunate, like I spent time with the wife, travel and all that stuff. And then it was right around that time where like, man, I feel like I really enjoy being part of this community so much. I love feeling like I'm bringing something, even if it's very small, to the table. I feel like that's very rewarding for me. But what's been very interesting is like I left the company in September of last year. And then that was basically the start around that time of the bear market. And so the whole time I've been doing my channel, it's just the stock's been tanking. And I'm like, I put out a poll. I'm like, should I shut down the freaking channel to reverse the trend? And then everybody's like, yeah, sure, do it. So it's my fault, guys. I'm really sorry. But it's just, it's been fascinating being plugged in to the community during this time, because there's so many more voices, like you said, so much more of a dynamic. And what I'm noticing is that the community has never been more divided on a lot of things. You know, I think everyone's still on the same like long-term train, but folks they're throwing in their hat, which they have every right to do, of how it should develop over time. What, you know, having been plugged out, I guess, for 6 months and sort of starting to come back in a little bit, sort of at the time that you choose, what do you think about that dynamic? What do you think has happened?
Well, I can't say if this is related for sure, but in the arc of Tesla, the biggest thing I noticed was the Tesla bot, because that was something that really took me by surprise. And I think if you thought about the core mission of Tesla to do electric cars, solar panels, like a very clear, like we're all focused on renewable energy technology mission that we were all rallied around. And then all of a sudden it became like, well, now we're actually going to do robots. And that's like the way we're going to make even more money than all of that. So then all the shareholders get excited about that. And I think that is a very different mission from what the community started around. And I feel like that almost was the start of Tesla getting political and sort of this fraying of the community, which sort of like I feel like simultaneously happened at the same time of the Tesla bot. And then so you have the Tesla bot, which is where it's like, wow, like, you know, technology is coming some weird places. It's like the world is like we're in crazy political times. And I feel like it's become Tesla's gone from like this focus on the clean energy mission to more and more like now robots and that whole question with humanity, then AI. And now even more than that with Twitter, like the whole internet and free speech. And so, and by nature, because it's Elon, Tesla's gotten wrapped into that. So I feel like from the start of the Tesla bot, we sort of have had Tesla's always been a little political, but it's gotten sort of much bigger and a much bigger discussion than what it was.
Interesting. Do you think sort of Elon going on the Twitter sort of direction, like he put in the offer in April of this year, like the first week. So it's been, God, like 7 months of this. I mean, he finalized the purchase in October, but it was known that at around that time he wanted to take it on. Do you think that also has added fuel to that fire, where there is just a bigger opportunity to maybe either on purpose or by accident create division? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Twitter thing has gotten crazy, and I feel like that has caused a lot of division. And it's also like I try and kind of separate so much of like I was trying to think about before I came on this of like how to describe it, but it's like what's happening in the metaverse versus what's happening IRL with Tesla. It's like whatever's in the metaverse, I don't care about. Like, okay, like Elon tweeted this, you said that, this article came out about this. Like, it's all, and like we should do a share buyback, or like now we're getting mad about this. It's just like all of this noise that has nothing to do with like what's happening at Fremont. Like, is there another big machine that's going to allow us to make more cars? How many people are ordering cars? Are we going to build the semi? Like, in the real world stuff is all I care about. And I think all we should focus on if you're an investor. And I feel like so much of the conversation has moved to this metaverse noise, which has no relation to the day-to-day operations of Tesla. And so I think that's a big growing disconnect where like, you know, who like the Elon, to me, the biggest thing is the stock price decline is I think, frankly, a lot of it is like Tesla stock goes up and it looks really easy on the way up. Like we're said, like I'm making YouTube videos for 5 years, the stock's not going up. Finally goes up. Like I've been pouring every dollar and cent I have when the stock is down into Tesla from my YouTube earnings. It's all my money. And like, you know, and the stock goes way up. And I feel like that was such a hard, difficult bet to make. And then when it's obvious and the stock starts going up and they start making a bunch of money, everyone forgets about the valuation. Nobody's doing the math. It's super easy to hop in. Everybody looks like a genius who's associated with Tesla, even if they didn't even put in all their money early and make a bunch of money. Like that's kind of one of my litmus tests. It's like, you know, it's like, are you really going to comment on, like, I think some people have motivations to comment on Tesla stock because they enjoy it. They want to be a part of the community. They're passionate about it. Like, that's what I see from you. But I think other people, like, we're just in this to make money. And then they didn't do their homework. And the second the stock falls down, they're kind of amateur investors and freak out and start blaming people. When it's like, it's a macroeconomic situation. Tesla's a high beta stock. A stock goes up 30x and now it gets cut in half. It's still up 15x. Like, that's a very normal thing. That's not let's grow the management. That's not let's get Elon out. He's being ridiculous. That's not, you know, it's all like if Twitter didn't happen, I think Tesla stock would probably be trading in the same place, maybe a little bit higher, but probably about the same place. Look at Amazon. Jeff Bezos didn't buy Twitter. Their stock's down this, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, every stock's getting hit. And so I think, there's been kind of a very like overlap in amateur like, because when retail investors started, the reason why Elon Musk loved retail investors is they were better than Wall Street and had a bunch of good insight and was like, holy shit, like retail investors aren't these idiot amateurs. They actually have good ideas. And like, this is a fascinating community to engage with. But now I think the retail community of Tesla has gone from these people who did a bunch of hard due diligence and like bet on the stock and did the fundamentals to like FOMO investors who don't know what they're doing. And now the conversation on Twitter and the conversation of Tesla retail investors has eroded in quality massively. And I think you have all these people like kind of pretending things are important, like the buyback, when it just is so unimportant to what's actually happening at Tesla. It's a $600 billion company. Even if we do buy back 20 billion of stock, you're barely going to notice. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? And yet that's what the hill people are going to die on. And I just think that's kind of like we've just lost a lot of focus on like the IRL Tesla. And I think that's what real investors are caring about. They're just not on Twitter. So I don't know how to really sum that up, other than I feel like the most cutting edge, fascinating Tesla analysis and research and like insight and just conversations used to all be happening on Twitter. And now I feel like they're not. And now the conversations happening on Twitter are kind of useless and like shouting matches. And that's why it feels kind of like this divisive energy. But that's kind of why I pulled out of it. I'm like, I just don't care. Like, but anyway. And there's a lot to dive into there too, because the whole Twitter thing is getting so messy that it's like, okay, like maybe it is getting so messy to where like Elon is I don't know. So there's lots of layers to it.
Let me sort of get you where I'm at in my head. So I really appreciate you being sort of upfront and honest about that, of course. The way I view it, what I find really interesting is that, say, starting in I started investing in 2012. I know you started investing early as well. And there was sort of a time period between then and, say, this recent run up where I think what was super unique about Tesla and Elon was exactly what you described, where there was this very warm hug around the retail investor that I think Elon really did a great job with. Hey, I really appreciate you guys. I love the fact that you're on board with us. You guys know way more than the say the institutional investing community, like Wall Street analysts.
Podcast. To me, that
exactly
was that moment of Elon being like, wait, these are like the 6 people on Twitter tweeting shit. Let me like lean in,
For sure. For sure. No, you're completely fine. Jump in whenever you want. What I find interesting though is like around that time, the company was it was not as financially stable, not nowhere even close to where it is now, right? So it was still in a hardcore growth phase, but with no real it wasn't really profitable at that time. And I think the company and Elon did such a good job of, again, giving that hug around that retail investing community. But what's different now is that now that the company has sort of reached a level where it's very profitable, self-sustaining. I mean, you and I both make the argument very easily that they have by far the best fundamentals of any automaker, but then they're not even an auto company. They're really an AI battery company mishmashed together with God knows how much more potential, right? But then that level of, I guess, TLC, care, empathy, understanding, try to bring the retail investor along, knowing that Tesla has, say, 40-45% retail investing base on the market. The tone is different, right? It's not as warm, it's not as fuzzy. It's just think long term, it's fine. Just think long term, it's fine. It's not like, hey, I got your back. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
It's always been like that, though, because back in 2017 and 2018, Elon would be like, the stock's volatile, you can't deal with it, sell. So I feel like they've always been like that. And I think if anything, it's justified. It's like, the stock has been the best performing stock. Like since Tesla IPO'd, the track record of Elon Musk is like insane. It's like, it's went from like, a $2 billion company to like 600 billion. It's like outperformed everybody who invested for the long run, made so much money, more than they would have in any other, like, there's a couple investments that would have done better, but like the scope and the amount of tens of hundreds of billions of wealth that got created with Tesla is like mind boggling. And so I think that's where Tesla, it's like, if you're going to yell at them when the stock goes down a little bit without giving them credit for this whole thing, like, I think that's when Tesla should be like, okay, the retail investors are like a little too emotional. They're a little too just like, the second the stock's down, we're angry and everything's bad. That's the exact like opposite of the composure of like who you need at the director level of a company. So, I don't know. I just think it's honestly like, I'm a little over it too. It's just like, stop whining. Like the stock's up huge. It's fairly valued. Like if you lost money, like learn. Like this isn't like I'm yelling out, bad energy out. It's like, no, reflect in. Why did I lose money? Why did I buy at the top? Why am I not buying more now if it's so cheap? To me, that's the most ironic thing is everyone's yelling at Tesla to buy back stock because it's so cheap. It's the best deal ever. It's like, why don't you just buy back stock and put up your own money if it's such a good deal and you're going to make so much money and the stock's going to go up and like Elon's an idiot and it's a no-brainer to buy right now, then why don't you buy? You know what I mean? It's like, just you make money. Stop getting angry on Twitter about it. So it's like, if you actually kind of follow this out, it's like, And so I don't know. That's kind of why I kind of don't have much patience for it. It's like, I don't really care. Like people are losing money. Like I think the market is so fair and your opinion and emotion about it is just kind of irrelevant. And that's your opinion and your emotion about it. Like, it's just like the numbers are the numbers. And I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. How do you think? So where my head goes to is like, Apple and Tesla have the same level of retail investor. I think Tesla, I checked this like 2 days ago, and it could be like slightly outdated, but Tesla is, I think, 42%, Apple is like 41%, something like that. But as a percentage share of the retail investor is the same. Yet the amount of, let's call this short-term and medium-term noise, because I really do believe it's noise. It's still like, I think there is some validity to it from a communication standpoint. We can talk about it if you want, but there is the same exact retail base, but one company is very up in arms right now, and the other one isn't. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I haven't see the whole premise that one company's up in arms and one isn't. I would challenge deeply, because I think Tesla's probably valued at a higher earnings multiple than Apple, and this whole perception that they're in turmoil and that something wrong is happening is just, I don't know where that's coming from. Like, they're valued at $600 billion. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think
when
also
I say up in arms, I mean sort of the noise, like the folks, like a lot of the retail investors, like you said, like the vision that has appeared in the sort of community.
Well, I guess it's because Elon is the only CEO who's engaging with his retail community, really. Like other companies will do it. They'll use the Say platform, but who's really on Twitter engaging and has built this community? Tesla and Elon, and it's so unique. And Apple, maybe numbers wise, has as many retail shareholders, but they're not as passionate, and there isn't that community of them. And there isn't like a feeling that if I band together hell of my friends and start tweeting at Tim Cook about what Apple should do with their cash, like he's going to give a fuck. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
you can say fuck, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, Elon actually might listen to you. So I think, like, in some ways we're in this catch-22 of like Elon has listened like so much that now like everybody thinks they got to say their thing and that he's got to listen, when it's like, nah, dude, like it's already just a privilege that he's listening and gives like he cares at all. But he's on Twitter, he's still listening, he's on Twitter. So yeah, and I think the most dangerous place I see this going, like as my personal money invested in the line of Tesla, like I was really frustrated when Elon got kicked out as chairman, because I really think the best companies are run by dictatorships, and it's just like, it's like when you're cooking dinner, like too many chefs in the kitchen, it's gonna be bad. Like I don't know what to say. And I think the biggest worry I have is that I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen if like we listen to the retail investors and everyone's like, well, now we buy back stock and now we do this. And it's kind of like this crowd mentality, just washing us around. I think that's a really bad way to like govern a company. And that makes me concerned. Like that, when I come down to like boil down to what is actually happening with Tesla, like this retail investor movement could get out of control and start actually influencing the way the company works. That's going to make me want to sell my stock. I want Elon to run this as a dictatorship. The second we start putting all these people in charge who like are just Twitter people that were loud, like, and I know that's ironic because I was on the board of Arcimoto and I was on 27 and got put on the board of a company and learned so much from that. And like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what I learned from that is honestly, if you actually want to, like, it's so much better to, like, if I was Ross Gerber, it's like, dude, it's so much better to just be on Twitter tweeting about the company than actually be on the board of directors. Being on the board of directors sucks. You're not gonna be able to tweet at all. You're gonna have to go to hella meetings that are hella boring. Like, you're gonna chime in 1 minute in a 3-hour meeting. Nobody's really gonna listen to you or care. Like, you're going to make way more of an impact if you just tweet and get a grassroots movement going and pressure the board. That's my strategy. That's what I learned. So, yeah.
Do you think Elon taking on Twitter has sort of hasn't helped the situation where there's sort of a perceived, either real, irreal or perceived sort of situation where you kind of slightly talked on, where there might be a situation where there is some hesitation around being comfortable with the current state of Tesla because of the different variables that are happening with Twitter. How do you think about that?
I guess I'm kind of confused on the question. Like, is Twitter going to make it so Elon can't run Tesla?
That's one of them. And then the fact that he is running Twitter, that it's adding sort of to the uncomfortable nature of why we are where we are. Like, how do you think about that?
I mean, it definitely is. It's just kind of a pattern that I've seen play out a lot before. Like, before it was the Boring Company, then it's Neuralink, then it's he's doing SpaceX. Then it's, you know, he's smoking dope with Joe Rogan, so he's not running the company. Now it's he's doing Twitter, so he's not running the company. So, you know, you kind of, when you're investing in a company for the long term, you're getting into like a business relationship with the CEO. And that's kind of like, and it's a long-term thing, and you really got to understand who they are as a person. And I think if you don't do that, then you might be caught off guard and not understand what's going to happen. It's like Elon's this crazy eccentric dude. He's running dozens of companies. You can read Tesla's SEC filings. They'll tell you he's not spending full time at Tesla, or not even SEC filings, but like their comment. Like Tesla's like, he doesn't spend all the time at Tesla. He's got a bunch of other moves he makes. That is the deal. And, you know, and I always come back to, it's like, I'm investing in the greatest entrepreneur in the world. He's a little ADD and crazy and eccentric, and has got too many ideas going around. It's going to be doing this. He's going to be doing that. But he's so good at what he does, and he knows his duties, and he's going to come back and does what he has to do at Tesla. He's going to do what he has to do at SpaceX. He's going to give it his all. He's going to figure it out. And I think these kind of like Elon doing something dumb on Twitter, him promoting Dogecoin, him launching a new venture, that's kind of all stuff you sign up for. Not when you're a Tesla customer. Like if you're a customer, who cares about all that? But if you're an investor, then like, yeah, like you can't ask for the greatest CEO of all time and want all his strengths, but then say, well, his flaws as a person I don't want, you know? And it's kind of like, you get what you sign up for. So I think that's a big thing of Twitter. It's like, this is maybe a hard lesson to learn if you're new to the Tesla investing world. Elon gets crazy and launches a new company, and for 6 months, the media hates him and everyone freaks out, and Tesla stock is like, you know, the ugly duckling. That happens. That's been happening. And it's happening right now. And the move to do when this happens is to buy a shitload of Tesla stock for the long term and be like, oh my God, like instead of everybody whining and me getting mad at the mob mentality, I'm about to make hella money on this and be a savvy financial person. And like, that's kind of what I've been doing through these times, and it's worked so well. And then I'm kind of like out of this cycle of like needing to make Tesla content or doing the Tesla rat race. I'm just like, I've just been doing what I'm doing. Like, and I think a lot of people, they're on margin. They're buying calls on the stock. They're trying to get fancy with it. It's like, bro, just buy stock. Like, I don't know. I've been Warren Buffetting it, and it's been working so well. It's just like the stock's down. Everybody hates it. There's blood in the streets. You know that saying, the old men come out with their canes who are actually rich and run the world. And then they buy up all the stocks when the media that they may or may not control, because the Illuminati is saying everything's crumbling and Elon Musk the worst in the world. They're the same people buying it. That's what the Rothschilds been doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you want to get like, and so to me, it's like I have been like, I wrote off Tesla. I was like, shit, I have a huge position in Tesla. It's rocketed to the moon. I'm never going to be adding to my Tesla position because it just doesn't, like, I have too many other, I can buy SpaceX. I can invest in startups. I can invest in Coinbase stock. I think it's priced for bankruptcy, but could survive and go up huge. Like, my opportunity cost of my capital was way too high to buy Tesla at $1 trillion when it's going to $4 trillion. It's a 20% annualized return. Like, I think I'm getting 50% IRRs, 800%, 500% IRRs because I'm smart and I'm doing all this crazy stuff. But now I'm like, oh shit, Tesla at 500 bill, this might be a 40% IRR to $4 trillion. So all of a sudden, me who like wrote off Tesla was like, the market's giving them too much leeway. The market's pricing in 6 years of earnings ahead of time. This is ridiculous. Everybody gets it. It's contrarian to say Tesla will not be the biggest company in the world at that point. You know what I mean? So you always got to be contrarian. So now when everyone's hating on Tesla, Elon's the worst CEO. I don't think it's going to happen. Price earnings multiple compressing. All of a sudden I see such a discount. People are mad at me in my video because my price targets are too low. But it's like, I want to caveat that by being like, I feel like I can invest so well in other places that to me, a 20 to 25% return on Tesla, it's big and slow and boring at $1 trillion is boring. But now if it's $500 billion and it's 40%, I'm getting ready to be like, ooh, I'm getting greedy. Like, I'm going to figure out how to like unlock cash from different parts of my portfolio and start moving it into Tesla. And that's where my gut is. So that's kind of like deep down as a long-term Tesla investor makes me excited again. Like, finally, I'm hungry again. I feel like Warren Buffett on his paper out, saving up change because I know this stock is pennies on the dollar. It's about to be huge. And that's how I'm about to blow up and make so much money. And I get that like kind of high from that contradictory snowball investing. And I think that's so like, so I kind of wish that if more people who bought Hyperchange like had that mentality. And it's like, damn, like I've been waiting 4 years to get greedy on Tesla stock because it hasn't been cheap. Last time I bought Tesla stock and I went crazy was the Cybertruck unveil. Right after that, the stock got hammered. and every single person thought it was a flop. And I'm coming home from the Cybertruck event like, this is the dopest party ever. Everyone I know, even my friends who don't like Tesla, ordered one. They got 20 billion in pre-orders, and everyone thinks this is a flop. Oh my God, I am putting every dollar I have into Tesla. I'm going so hard. I'm taking out loans. I'm like about to like borrow money from my sister to pay taxes so I can put another 5Gs in right now. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And I'm so excited.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, nothing financial advice. But anyway, that's the end of my rant. The point being is, I feel like it's exciting if you're a long-term investor to be able to swing the bat again at Tesla when it's in the, like, you know, the sentiment shifted.
Yeah, no, I love the take there, because the fact is, so I was in a space today, and with like the Wolf people on Twitter. I forget what their actual full name is, but they host like daily spaces, and it was Holmars was there, Gordon Johnson was there. It was like a bear and bull debate for Tesla, and the title was Tesla to $50, which that's how they bring people in. So props to them. Clickbait. But it was a very interesting sort of thing to listen to, because a lot of the same, and again, not investing advice, this is just me thinking out loud, and people can sort of do their own diligence. A lot of the same type of doubts, a lot of the same type of, hey, like they've overstretched their welcome. They can't continue to grow. There's too much competition. The recession is going to kill them. They don't really have anything special. 10 years later, it's the same exact talking points from the other side, which to me is a signal that says, okay, guys, like, what are we actually doing research? What are we doing here? So it feels like we're back to that sort of square one around 2014, 2015, the way I'm perceiving it, where you had the Model 3 that was about to ramp, and then a lot of folks had a lot of doubt that this was going to continue onwards. It seems like that is repeating again in time with Cybertruck, with the cheaper car. But then now Tesla is in a situation where they're not just profitable, they're the most profitable car company in the world, and they have no debt, basically, right? And they have 21 billion in cash, probably 23, 24 billion in cash this quarter. And the story very obviously is going to continue. But then the question becomes, how does this market want to price Tesla in a, say, recessionary environment? It becomes a PE crunch. It becomes what is the market looking for? And if you start removing some of the like short-term to medium-term overhangs, noise, whatever you want to call it, that could be impacting Tesla, like Elon saying, hey, I'm going to step down as head of CEO of or head of Twitter, which I don't even know what that means, because the dude still owns the company.
Yeah,
he's still going to run it.
Like working there all night. Like, if you
exactly,
he's telling Lex what to do. Like,
yeah. So it's like it's a dog and pony show, which is obvious, and that's how Elon, I think, does such a great job. Is that he's great at getting the public to sort of shift opinion from time to time through some of these actions. Now, of course, he's being sincere, but I think he sees an opportunity to say, hey, publicly, I'm going to step down, but then behind the scenes, he's still going to be running shit. And he might put somebody up that's a public figure, right? So that's one variable that's going to get yanked here in the very short term. I agree. And then there is also the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act that's kicking in the U.S. in January. So on and so forth. You have all these world governments hopping on with incentives. 2 million production capacity, largest margins. So in the case of you need to push more units, you can diminish price. So there's all these variables starting to rise up, and we're just talking about next year. And so for me, the stock price, I've put videos together on my channel where I'm trying to like go 10, 15 years into the future. My biggest lesson from this whole experience is like, the market don't give a shit. The market don't give a shit what your short-term or medium-term expectations are. You're probably going to be wrong, but it always comes back to fundamentals. And it sounds like you're still just as confident about the fundamentals of the company as you have been this whole time. And I don't know if you have any other thoughts around that, because like that's where my head keeps going back to, is like the fundamentals seem phenomenal.
And what are fundamentals of finance? And I think this is an amazing thing, because we all talk about Elon and what wisdom we can get from him, and like, he's a great leader. First principles of physics is how he does engineering. Like, I try and think about the first principles of finance when I'm investing. Like, okay, like, we got to think, like, when you buy a stock, you got to pretend like you're buying the whole company. So I'm buying 500 billion for something that's making 15 billion in profit a year right now. Let's assume it grows to like 25 billion and it's a $500 billion company. it's still, if I put in 500 billion to a thing that's making 25 billion a year, let's crunch the math here. That's 20 years before it makes $500 billion to pay me back. So I think when you think about the stock market, the price earnings ratio, the average equity trades at 50. The market assumes that you will be making that same amount in perpetuity for 15 years. And that like, so to me, when I look at Tesla, and my own phrase that I use is called years to payback, which is how many years will it take to pay back the company's market cap in earnings? And if like, this is such a like, cause it'll adjust for hyper growth. So anyway, that's a whole formula that I think of. But when Tesla's at 30 bill that I went all in, I'm like, this is really easy for them to make 30 billion. To be honest, now they're making 15, 25 bill a year. They're almost at that 30 bill a year point. So if it's like, you're right, it's like, damn, if they can make what they're making a year now, like if they can make their market cap in a year in profit, I'm going to make so much money on the stock. So you got to think like that. So Tesla's at 500 billion. 500 billion is a shit. Like, okay, so we want it to go to 10 trillion, 20p ratio, 500 billion. So 500 billion is so much profit. That's literally like that's like 80% of the miles traveled by humans will be in a Tesla, you're assuming, or you kind of got to really work these. So when I think about Tesla at 500 billion, like there's so much priced in and it's going to take them so many years. The years to payback ratio is a lot, maybe it's 7 to 10, depending on how fast they scale. I don't know, but, that's just kind of a first principles way I look at valuation and stuff. And it's like, okay, like what really is going to like, when is the real rational, like first principles law of Tesla stock going down? If Tesla stock's at 100 billion, but 80 billion of that's locked up in shares and Elon and people holding, and only 20 billion is the free float. Now a $10 billion buyback, because we may have 10 billion excess profits, is going to move the needle. That will literally support the stock and we will buy it back and it will be fundamentally cheap. But 15 billion in cash flow is not enough to sustain 500. So like if you kind of assume the market implodes and we have literally no faith in Tesla and all we have to support the stock is our own cash earnings, like the cash we actually make. So I don't know. These are the kind of like doomsday ways that I think about it. But that's why when I think people get so like they'll say these big valuations with Tesla, like they're inevitable of 10 trillion without thinking through how many cars that builds, without thinking through that every single neighbor who now hates Tesla has to be in a Tesla every single day for 4 hours a day, according to your theory, if we're going to be right. And that's going to be really hard and a lot could go wrong to get there. So that's kind of like the whole trade-off. And now Tesla stock going down has said the percentage chance of that world domination, or how big that world domination is, goes down. And then the whole question is, where do you think that where are you going to put your money? Because the bets like make sense of like, okay, well, Tesla's priced to only take over 5% of the future. I think they're going to get 25% of the future. So I'm going all in. But if they're priced to get 50% of the future and they get 45, you're going to lose all your money still. So I don't know. I think we're like, yeah, I think it's, I got off track. I'm rambling, but
no, you're good. No. I no, you were right on. So you're kind of walking us through how you're thinking about the long-term fundamentals. It does sound like a lot of it. So like, how do you think about energy? How do you think about full self-driving? How do you think about the bot? How do you think about solar? All these other variables.
Well, see, this is the other tricky part where I think Tesla seems diversified and they're a series of startups, but they're like Apple. All their money comes from one product, which is the Model 3 and Y, essentially. Like that is like all of their money. And like energy, as much as I'm so hyped on the energy mission and like love that, it's just like going to take them 30 years to build an energy business that's worth a couple $100 billion at this rate, So the problem is when you're this big, to add another 500 billion in market cap's hard. Before we got 30 billion, it's like, okay, Cybertruck's 30 billion, the Tesla Semi is 50 billion. But now it's like we add that up and it's like, wait, like, so for us to get, I think it's kind of like a bummer that Tesla has so many of these little cool businesses like the Semi or energy, and they may barely ever even impact the company because it's so big financially, which is kind of lame. But I think that's why the Tesla bot is so big. I think like the car thing, I kind of think the market's giving us a lot of credit. We're the world's biggest car company. We're 600 billion. The market's telling us we're going to make a car business that's going to be, we're selling 4 million cars a year. We're selling 1.2 million now. The market's like, yeah, you're going to sell 4 million cars a year, like make a ton of profit on each car. Like that's a big, so I actually think the auto business doesn't have that much upside. Maybe it takes us to a $1 trillion, $2 trillion company, but I feel like that's not enough to really be excited. I think if you really want that 10 trillion, that kind of crazy Tesla becomes really by far the biggest company in the world vision, it comes down to the bot. And it comes down to that being a much bigger opportunity, to that being a much bigger opportunity for like human evolution and society as well. But I think a lot of what happens if you really want big upside on the stock is like the bot really crushing it.
Mhm.
And maybe FSD, but
Got it. Yeah, and so got it. So that helps you sort of conceptualize how you're thinking about the company. So the car business, really call it in the next, I don't know, and tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm thinking about this incorrectly. Like say 5 to, I don't know, 8 years, but say by the end of the decade, really if people are thinking about it from a valuation perspective of the stock, you might be at 3x max, maybe even less, 2 to 3x, something like that. But then for it to really get to where it excites you as an investor, which is 10x, 20x, 50x, you really have to get into these I wouldn't call them aspirational, but these, I guess, businesses that Tesla has created around products that don't exist today, like full self-driving cars and bots, to really take you to the next level. And this could take years, if not decades, past that automobile business being built. Did I sort of summarize that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. But I also think you get like a nice kind of boring, like, we go from 500 billion, we're making 15 billion in earnings. I see us scaling to like 2 trillion market cap on 100 billion in earnings from car business. So, and like that'll be a good return. So it won't be like the stock's going flat if they never do the bot. It's just like the stock will go up slowly, but that's not going to be like, and I still think it'd be much better investment than the S&P 500. Like just like really crushing like every semi truck's Tesla, like all these electric vans are Tesla. It's the robo taxis Tesla. Like we can making a couple hundreds of billion in profit. But yeah, I don't know, but then it's like once again, you kind of I think of it in some ways like the US dollar. Like the US dollar is so trusted and we all assume that it's going to inevitably be the future. And in some ways that makes it the riskiest thing for the future because like everyone's hope is that will automatically be the future. And I just feel like if you're betting on the scenario, well, everybody drives a Tesla and Tesla's the only thing, they're the biggest company in the world. Like that's so much expectation and so much pressure. And there's so many scenarios at which Tesla's not the biggest company in the world, or they don't get every single sale. There's so many different scenarios that people aren't pricing in. So you want them to be pricing in more of these shitty scenarios, because if everybody's pricing in the best scenario ever, like there's no contrarianism, there's no upside. And I think that's kind of, that was the $1 trillion moment. Or the $1 trillion valuation moment.
Got it. So I think so then it sounds like you believe that a lot of the folks that are out there sort of pricing Tesla and analysts and whoever they are, they're still baking in a lot of like perfect execution into the future, even at these levels, for it to there isn't really much upside from here as long as they keep executing from the auto business. There could be like you said, like a 2x or a 3x in the long term, but it's not that 20, 30x opportunity over the long term. Okay. Got it. No, that really helps me sort of, and if I said anything incorrect there, let me know, but it sounds like
I think it's
that's
right. I mean, it's all guessing,
okay.
Right? I'm all just
of
guessing.
Course.
And I will say Tesla's proven me wrong with how much money I thought they could make. Like they're making a insane amount of money for how many cars. Like if they keep being like, changing that paradigm of software margins, then yeah.
Okay. How do you think about the latest poll that came out yesterday from Elon saying that he's looking to step down from Twitter? Like how do you view that whole thing? Or what are you thinking about?
Oh man, the Twitter thing is going crazy. I mean, I will say I think it has so much potential. I think they could totally mess it up. He could mess it up or he could not. I don't know. And I've had a lot of very intense conversations with like Tesla people, behind the scenes, who are my friends who've been in Tesla stock forever. And, people know him. and we have these intense comments like, is Elon flipping the press? And is that proving his point? And is that, a genius move? So I told you so moment for the press on free speech. Is that a genius move that was worth it? Did the public even get that nuance that the press flip-flopped on 180? I don't think so. So was it worth it? Does he have this master plan? Does he know what he's doing? Is he too levered on I think the way he's levered on Tesla stock is like not ideal. You know, he basically has like a loan against his massive Tesla stock position, and that's debt. It's on margin. And then he's, you know, uses that money to buy Twitter, which also has debt. So he needs, where Elon Musk loves to put his back against the wall. So he needs Twitter to succeed. Otherwise, if Twitter doesn't succeed, it's going to become a money pit. He might have to sell more Tesla, or they'll just have to make the company go bankrupt immediately, which would make him look super bad. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what your take is on it all. Like, I think I never would have seen this coming. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe we should just talk about it, because I'm really curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, the way I view the whole Twitter acquisition is, I think, so if there's one thing, you've spoken to Elon in person, you know him better as a human being than I do. The only thing I see is like the outsider view. I've been following him for 10 years. I worked at the company. So like, I understand the cultural impact of his company, and I see it from a business perspective, sort of how he thinks. I view Elon first and foremost as an entrepreneur who knows how to make a lot of money. That's how I view him. Like that's the, you know, PayPal, X.com, every business he's ever made. The one he sold to Compaq, whatever the hell that thing was called, Zip2, SpaceX, with Starlink. You got Tesla, obviously. So there's these ventures that have proven out to be great business decisions, and ultimately that's what I see in Twitter. Is that even though the short term, it might be a thing where it's chaotic and super uncomfortable, it's par for the course for seeing an opportunity. And I think the opportunity he's seeing is that the world is kind of fucked. There's a lot of division. There's not a trusted place for people to get information. There isn't a place for all of us to come together and have nuanced conversations. So a lot of media companies, like for example, YouTube doesn't have a competitor. There's all these different places in media that seem to be just very monopolistic. And I think Twitter, he's viewing as an opportunity. You know, he's talked about the Everything app, which is not a secret. There is a way to bring everything together and sort of make it work. And so what I think he saw is like, okay, I have 250 million users. I have an extremely bloated company. And there is a lot of opportunity to actually create a place, not just to disrupt media and to become a trusted place for news and conversation or whatever, but someplace where it could turn into a huge business opportunity. If I'm able to cut down the operations of the company the same way I did Tesla and SpaceX make it as lean as possible, fundamentally, what do I own? I own server space, and I own the place where people come to work in person. That's it. The rest is software, and it's just very, very, very lean. So I think that's how he's thinking about Twitter. And so all it really takes, and again, I am not a software engineer. I'm a moron when it comes to this. But if I'm using, call it first principles to get here, what he needs to create is a product that attracts more people to come there to view the content, and for ad folks to go there and to actually serve ads to people, so the company starts generating money, and that's about it. And then it becomes a self-sustaining company. That's how I view it. And I think the way he operates as a human too, I do think I think there's a level of wanting better for humanity, and he's definitely shown that with SpaceX and Tesla, but he also knows how to make a lot of money. And so that's what I see in Twitter. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, huge potential to make money, for sure. And I think he sees that, but I almost think, to me, I don't think that's how Elon's thinking about it. I think of this as like so related with like Neuralink and what's happening, of like the idea that we're these biological beings in the world, and there's this metaverse where, like the internet, where we all log in and can share ideas and can essentially communicate. So it's a disruption of what human communication is. And that fabric of connecting reality to the internet, that software, is so important for the future of humanity and communication and frictionless idea exchange. And Twitter, you know, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Zoom, or there's so many different like websites or apps that we use to be this way that we all get into the metaverse and connect. And I think his idea of Twitter being that place of like the hive mind, the singularity, like everything that's happening, humanity is there, all the ideas, all the exchange, all the progress. Like it's like these dinners that people used to have in like ancient Greece or something, where they get a bunch of wine, they get around a table and they're like, let's talk about how we're going to change society and like what the hell the future is going to be, and like should we set up this thing called the Olympics or whatever. I don't know, I just made that up. I think there's like, and now Twitter is that, and it's not just like,
a shout out for your sweater, by the way. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Didn't to derail you. Go ahead.
Super chat. But I don't know. So Twitter to me is like so like, and like I've seen you make some tweets about how it's undervalued at 44 billion. Like I think that's so true. And it's like, okay, maybe based on the financials and blah, 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 but like strategically about the attention on this platform, and the potential for what turning that attention into, you know, a payment system. And I think a lot about the blockchain and like this big problem of like my identity to like interact with these things in the metaverse is so much value there, whether it's an Ethereum wallet or something like Twitter that verifies who I am and gives me like the power to just tap into this amazing network. Anyway, so that's kind of at a high level. I see it from my anthropological brain of where humanity's going. I see control, like this is like Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post, except Bezos and all these other billionaires are idiots because those press things are being disrupted. It's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Twitter. These are the new, you know, Wall Street Journal, New York Times of tomorrow. And so Elon Musk is saying, wow, this is an asset that has incredible, like, attention is the asset of humanity. If I want to market for my companies, if I want to change the perception to go to space, like there's a lot of risk to what I'm doing because it's on such a big scale. If I can't at least ensure there's a fair global conversation, I don't need to run the global conversation, brainwash everybody thinking Tesla's dope, but there's a good chance the mainstream media will just choke it and say Mars is dumb. We're getting more clicks if we say space is bad and the satellites are going to come crashing. So the truth isn't going to get out. So that's why when you say like, and we're all thinking about, damn, like where's Elon's head out on this? He's like, fuck, this is important. Like we need, like humanity is like, we're like we're like a dog with like 800 treats in front of us when we get on the internet. And we're just like about to go to this treat. And there wasn't a healthy treat that kind of like doesn't, that like focuses the conversation on the good and the progress as opposed to these dumb things. And so I think there's a lot that like, it's maybe we've all kind of had to appreciate for a second that like social media is the new smoking. Our brains are like getting ruined by these addictive algorithmic social media systems that have blown up in the last 15 years. Sure. And now we need to be like, whoa, you know, and change that. And this is a big mission.
Yeah, dude. And Twitter, I have not been able to put Twitter down since he's bought the damn thing. It sucks. Right? I'm like trying so hard. I'm trying so hard and I literally can't. And I'm going to my wife's like, can you get off the freaking phone? I'm like, I can't. It's so hard. It's so hard. And now, and you know what like the hilarious thing is? Yeah. And like, by the way, shout out to my wife, producer wife in the background, making the production, all that good stuff. Now she's on Twitter more. And I'm going to blow up her spot a little bit. I'm seeing like her liking tweets and retweeting stuff. So like what you're saying is 100%. And I just heard her laugh from downstairs. So I know she's listening to this very intently. To go along this line of thinking too, I really think the connecting, being able to have a platform where you're just connecting human beings together as we move into the future and more the economy becomes digital, especially through as self-driving cars become the norm. So you just displaced a ton of drivers. As a humanoid robot becomes the norm, we just displaced basically, I don't know, 50 to 80% of physical labor in a sense, outside of like artisanal, more niche-y stuff. You're really getting to the point where you're kind of running out of things to do from a physical perspective where a human is needed, where you're running much more automated and robotics. And so what do you need in that space? You need a way for people to be able to communicate with each other and trade services somehow and money, right? That's what an economy is. It's a place for humans to exchange time for value. And so that's how I envision Twitter really long term. I don't know, 15, 20 years down the road, where it's basically like human OS, right? It's a way for all of us to get together, and in a world where a lot of the physical stuff is automated and everybody has wallets on Twitter, we can be like, yo, I need this thing. Okay, cool. Boom. Here you go. And it just becomes this sort of, it's the metaverse. It's the real metaverse. It's the real metaverse. It's I think what Twitter is going to be long term. And I wonder if how much of that I wonder if Elon's thinking about this too. Is like, hey, I'm gonna be part of I hate to use the word displacing, but he's gonna be say automating a lot of labor today from a physical standpoint in the bot and the self-driving car, where maybe he has a moral obligation to maybe provide an alternate tool for humanity where they're able to exchange value and services by utilizing this platform and making it as open and as democratic as humanly possible, so you don't end up with the few owning most of the resources and labor. And that's kind of out there, but I'm wondering if that's also like long term how I was thinking about Twitter. I don't know if I'd love to hear your thoughts around that, but that's
Yeah.
another variable too.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
where do the chips fall if we kind of fast forward and like we see this continuation of the disruption of work and I don't know, this big GPT chatbot thing. Like, I feel like the first time ever, I never had this experience of like I would feel dumb or like I would feel kind of like irrelevant. But I feel like for the first time ever, I sort of had that feeling of like, wow, like this shit is like knows more than me about anything and like
Bro,
is just so and it's right.
let me give you a perfect example of this. I went
Yeah.
on GPT-3 and I typed the prompt was make a YouTube script in the style of Farzad Misbahi
Oh
covering
no.
the Tesla stocks potential for 2023. And it gave me a whole script and I made a YouTube video on it. And I said, "Hey, this is AI made." And the comments are like, "What the fuck? This is like better than most YouTubers out there covering the stock." I'm like, "I know. It's wild. It's just an incredible
like,
how
like
it's
the only
like
bad thing about this is we had to look at you. We couldn't look at the AI too. Like
exactly. Yeah, I know. Exactly. And it's like how is it disrupting, like this is the part that's so scary, is like the disruption of jobs that humans think are too creative for humans
yeah.
is, I don't think is the case. I think anything is disruptible. It's just a matter of what do people appreciate. And if you're thinking about it from a Pareto perspective, the 80-20 rule, AI is going to be able to bring so much value for the 80, and that's going to disrupt everything. Like if people just want the thing, like if people don't really appreciate the nuance of the human, like the small stuff that the human can do, that's very like artistic in a way, AI can do the rest of it. I mean, DALL-E, dude, I use DALL-E for thumbnails, right? Like GPT-3, God knows I could use this thing for ideas for YouTube videos. And this is a very sort of creative space. And I'm not saying I'm good at it, but it is a creative space where you have to sit down and sort of be a little bit more artistic and think about it more. But it's already being disrupted. So fast forward 10 to 20 years from now, it's going to be completely and utterly insane. And
It's
as that happens, where does Twitter fall? Where does Twitter fall in that whole landscape? And is there a piece of Twitter that's, I don't know, supplement the ability for humans to actually have a place to feel like they can build things and make things either through content or exchange of services? The fact that it's global, it's also very interesting because you could have people like from Africa and the United States working together on stuff and exchanging value right on the wallet, right on Twitter. I don't know, man. It's like, it's wild. It's completely wild where we're going.
yeah. And this like you talking's making me think of like the long tail of access to like expertise sort of. Like if I want to go see a doctor, but I'm not in a big city, then I probably have to see like a B tier doctor who's like going to give me a B tier diagnosis. Like, I don't know, just like there isn't like the expertise in my thing. But all of a sudden AI means I could just ask the AI health bot and it's like the expertise in that medical field is all of a sudden distributed to somewhere that wouldn't have. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've been trying to like I feel like the perfect like I always come back to like the cinnamon roll thing. It's like, well, if they can make a perfect cinnamon roll and they just figure that out once, then like every baker's screwed. And like that
You got it.
expertise of the cinnamon roll or the croissant gets distributed everywhere. And all of a sudden everywhere in the world can have that like, and that's so amazing because if I lived in a food desert before with like the shittiest breakfast options ever, now I have like the dopest fresh croissant made for me every morning, perfect for like 5 cents. And like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like now I'm enjoying my day better. Now I'm like, I'm going to have healthier food. And so I think in a lot of ways, what you're saying, like, it's so interesting to me how I see AI sort of empowering the people that we all thought kind of got left behind by the first digital revolution. And all these people who, for better or worse, maybe they're admitting it or not, thought they left everybody behind with their tech job behind the computer, being like, I'm designing,
Yeah.
like, and then next thing you know, it's like the AI bot's like, design that. And it's like 10 times better than anything you could do in 1 second. And it's like, so I've been thinking more and more, it's like, if my shit's on a computer, it's screwed. I used to think like, I go to the bagel shop. I'm like the dude making my bagels. You know, I'm like sitting there like he's about to be disrupted. Doesn't even know that. Like the Tesla bot. You know what I mean? And then I get back to my computer. I'm like, I'm getting disrupted. Like it's making YouTube videos. It's writing books. It's writing tweets. It can do like ideas like this. It's not making bagels yet. So it disrupted me before the bagel guy. And I think that's clowning. And it made me realize, like, if you're doing shit on the computer, that's your Achilles heel. Like the more digital what you're doing, like coding, we thought that was the one to get disrupted. That's how you're going to rule in the world. Bam. If you are not like the creme de la creme, like just like best coder in the world, you are done. You are done. All that studying. And then you think about it, you're like, wait, we trained humans. How much waste of energy was to train humans on the same course over and over? We made 1 million of the same humans who just knew this one skill over and over again. And then it just got disrupted instantly and they're all useless. And it was like coders that are the first useless ones, writers, artists. And those are the things that we thought were going to be the hardest. So I'm with you. I'm like, that's crazy. It's very like, it's weird to see it go down.
So weird. And like another example I can use is one of my proteges, who's one of my proteges that's still at Tesla. Like we're on Discord. He like sends me messages from time to time checking in, and he's like, dude, I just asked, I was struggling with some Python code, and I just went into GPT-3 and it just did it for me. So it's like, and then I had an existential crisis. Like, what the hell am I doing? Why didn't I just use GPT-3 for everything? It's starting. It's starting. And I think there's a level of, I don't know, there's a lot of, and a lot of people are, especially in like world governments, they're like blind to it. And it's going to be, I don't know, man. It's gonna be so disruptive, dude. I'm almost like I used to be on the sort of camp of, you know, I do think I thought that humans were going to have a really tough time through this. And I'm more and more getting warmed up to the idea that, you know, through things like, and again, Twitter right now is nothing that would be able to displace this. But over time, as you connect more and more people and you allow them to exchange value for services, like just money for services or whatever, then you're maximizing the chances of people to have something to work on or do that's they're passionate about, to fill their time or to feel like they're adding to the world, you know? And I just hope that continues, because if it doesn't, then it's like, okay, so the future doesn't seem too great. And Dave, thank you for the comment. We need to start having serious conversations about UBI. Sure, that's definitely part of the equation. But then part of me also says, what if you can get all products and services to be so damn cheap that it's not even needed? You know, if AI and robots, you know, like you use the Tesla model, you know, use Tesla self-driving as an example. The cost per mile to operate the robotaxi once that thing is out, it's going to be by far the cheapest mode of transport on planet Earth, especially for the amount of room you get in that car. And so transportation is going to become extremely cheap to whereas basically anybody can use a car. So apply that to absolutely everything. You ride down that cost curve, and then more and more things become cheaper and cheaper. It just becomes, how much more do humans want? And how much more of those things that humans want is going to be physical versus digital, you know? And I could go on talking about this forever, but it's obviously where we're going. And I really enjoy how your brain's kind of 20, 30 years into the future as well, kind of figuring out how this, and I don't even know how we got on this topic, but I'm enjoying it.
No, me too. And actually one of the things that made me think of too is kind of like, on some level, what brings human, like the threat of AI and how different and how like it humanizes you in such an interesting way, I actually think will bond humans together. That's what I was thinking. Like you listen to a song and it's like, oh my God, like Lil Baby, he's my favorite rapper. Like he killed that song. You see him in person, it's like, oh my God, he's like a god. Like, you know, it's like this different thing. But it's like in the future, like maybe AI creates the song. And so we see the AI, but it's like, we know that's not us. And there's something beautiful about like, and then like I kind of connect with another human of like, we're both like not the AI. I don't know if that makes it sense, but I feel like it's going to bring humans together because we'll all like see ourselves. And I think we'll like appreciate the uniqueness in ourselves a lot more, because what I realize is I'm just a weird ass Tesla bot. I am a Tesla bot. I have the hardware. I'm just not built to last very well. I'm a little faster than the Tesla bot. And I don't know,
right now.
But like, you know what I mean? Basically, I'm just a Tesla bot that just like doesn't learn skills. New. Like I learned a lot of skills and I have a lot and I'm pretty good memory and I know stuff and I figure it out, but like I'm not that good. but I have like weird quirks. And I feel like, think about if you saw AI and it's like, oh, that AI, like, why does it like Tesla stock and peppers and space and like weird clothes? And like, that's such a quirky AI. You'd be like, that's so funny and like quirky and just like cool. And I feel like we're going to realize that that's what we are. And it'll kind of like, I don't know. So I kind of like it. Yeah. In some ways, I think I used to think like Mars would really bring us together, but I also think this idea of AI will really bring us together. Whether it's just being like, we could have never figured that out, right? And then it's like, well, you just showed that laugh.
I love the way you thought about that too, because it's like you're 100% right. If you look back in history, the things that unite people the most is when there's a common quote unquote enemy, or a common quote unquote thing that we have to overcome, whatever. If it's a subgroup of people or a country or a state or a freaking the world, we all come together to try to go towards that mission, but it has to feel existential. It has to be existential. And so AI being the giant displacer of work, as long as it's perceived or really is that giant displacer of work, then I could see that happening. And I hope that if that happens, we are able to reverse the trend, because then one of my fears becomes the beauty of imperfection. That's beautifully said, Drew Soul. Thank you for the super chat. That sort of that thing that could derail humanity and that perspective could, I hope we have enough time to reverse it, because if we're at that point where it's like about to hit us in the face, oh boy, like I hope we never get there, right? But then we don't have that uniting force that could finally get us over the hump. So yeah, dude, it's what a crazy time that we're going towards. Because we're talking about Twitter and then we got on this freaking incredible talk here. Who do you think is Twitter's new CEO, and do you think Elon's going to step down? How do you think about
that? Who knows what's gonna? I feel like it's gonna change tomorrow. It's probably already there's a new lead candidate as we've been recording probably, but I think Lex Friedman can do it. We'll see if he can be more than a podcaster, and he's an academic. I strongly believe that like people in academia, like when they go to try and run a company in the real world, like fail miserably. And so I think if anyone's gonna buck that trend, it's Lex Friedman though, because he did it with his podcast. But I don't know. I think that's different than running a social media company. Jason Calacanis, I don't know. I think Elon, he's going to figure it out. We're in the trenches right now. We're in the worst part of it. He bought it. The stress is high. They're losing money. They got handed Twitter, and then it's like this thing like, oh my God, this is an ugly bird with like 800 diseases, and we got to put it in the ER and do like 800 surgeries, and we're gonna pump his little heart, and we're gonna see, we gotta save this thing. Like, come on, you know what I mean? Everyone out there is like spitting and throwing stuff at it while he's trying to save it, and it's like, and that's what's happening right now. But I think they're gonna emerge, and I think, man, before all the drama, the opportunity, and this is why, like, to me, oh my God, like the strategic, like I like to think of shit like kind of like a strategic wars general, like Sun Tzu. I don't know, just like we're in this shit. You know what I mean? Like China was crushing us with TikTok. They were the mind share they had of the US. Like US was like, to me, the biggest blunder the US has made, if I was CEO of the US, is letting another country who's our enemy control our social media platform, which is essentially the attention and brains of our entire youth and our entire country, like wildfire. They don't let any of our social medias in China because they know how powerful this is, and they're just strategic about it. We have too much of a bureaucracy to figure that shit out, and it's just a rule by committee, which is why I don't want Tesla to have this shit. That's what our government is. And we let TikTok just blow up, and it's nobody's problem. So nobody deals with it, and it's so addictive. It's ruining our, and it's like, oh my God, the fact that we may finally have a chance to have innovation in our own social media sector to bring back the control of the attention of the American people back to a US citizen's hand, back to a corporation that's governed by US law, back to something that's here, back to something with our interests at heart, should be like, everybody should be fucking rooting for Elon just based on that. Just based on the fact that if you've been following the landscape of social media, the West has been in a dangerous place where we don't have control over our media and our press and our information systems anymore. And you think the financial press thinks it's bad to let fucking Elon have it. We're letting the CCP have it. So that to me is like the real what's about to happen. So if I'm actually like an American citizen, and it's not even like, you know, China, the blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been to China. I think China is an awesome country, like so many amazing people. but it's like governments are fucked up. Their government's doing their shit that they want to do. Our government's doing our shit that we're gonna want to do. It's like kind of like always a war. We don't say it's a war, but it's like everyone's trying to expand their influence and scope and whatever. And so China's doing that with TikTok. I'm doing the exact same shit if I was them, but the US has not. I think strategically, when we're going to look back, we're going to say, wow, Twitter succeeded and finally by a thread kept the truth and the democracy and just the free press. It was hanging by a thread and Twitter saved it and gave us a place to have this true discussion that wasn't owned by someone else. And so I think the bar is low for how good Twitter has to be good for the US and its people. And nobody's thinking about that. And that's why I'm rooting for Twitter to succeed, because I'm like, fuck, it's gonna be so good for the world. And right?
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going. Or you're done. Okay.
That's it. Yeah. I'm trying to think
yeah.
what else we should dive into about Twitter. I mean, do you think he's gonna pull it off and like Twitter's gonna, are we a year from now, are we gonna still be on Twitter as much? Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the way I view it is that Elon has a great track record of just when people, okay, if he can, and I hate using this example over and over again, but I'm going to use it anyway because it's just, I think it applies here. If the dude can create a company that not just a couple of days ago was able to launch and recover 3 different launches in the span of 36 hours without him even sniffing anything remotely close to the daily operations of that company, essentially automating rocket reusability, where like 5 years ago, it was the dumbest thing anybody has ever heard. I'm pretty sure he can build a social media company. I'm pretty sure he can hire the right talent to build a good social media company. Master delegator of work. he knows how to build cultures that are existential. Experienced this part of it firsthand, and that's why I have so much confidence in it. For me, it's a surefire success. Like it already is, and maybe I'm stupid because of that. But I just feel like whatever mistakes and weaknesses he has shown in Twitter, I think he has shown that he pivots, he fixes, and he will put the right people in place to ensure Twitter goes and it becomes really, really successful very, very far into the future. And the quicker he can do that, the better. But I do think that the long-term survival of the company, for me, it's like, yeah, he's going to figure it out. Like, of course he's going to figure it out. And, you said the same thing. So it's just a matter of who becomes, like for me, the equation becomes who becomes the new face of the company. Because we all know him doing the poll yesterday of should I step down as head is really just a function of just get the attention off of me. I think his car getting attacked may have accelerated that a little bit. Honestly, like there's just some crazy stuff going on in the short term with that. And maybe that was like a thing that says, okay, maybe I just really need to take this, like the public eye off of me a little bit and just get that face in front of the public as quickly as humanly possible. But then behind the scenes, he's going to be doing his shit. He's going to be hiring. He's going to be building. But then, he just needs somebody to be the quote unquote public face so that at least that variable gets thrown out, the noise goes away, and they can focus on moving forward without maybe having fear for his own well-being. I don't know. Maybe that's a small part of it, but I do think that accelerated. Yeah. So not for me, it's just who is it going to be? I think my heart says Lex. My heart says Lex because I just sometimes my heart speaks over my brain. And does Lex have CEO experience? Obviously, no. Is he an educator? Yes. Has he really built any businesses? No. Well, he built a podcast, actually, like you said.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to say, which is a social media, internet attention media thing, which is done insanely well. So,
yeah. So I do think Lex. I think Lex is an unorthodox pick, but it's just. I think it kind of makes sense for me. I honestly think it does. But whoever it is, if there's a track record Elon has shown is that he is very capable of putting the right people in the right places and putting him in a situation where there's an existential culture where that person is going to feel inspired to go as fast as humanly possible towards the end goal. So it's just a matter of what is it going to look like? What is it going to look like in 1 to 3 years? And but most people don't think that way. Most people are they don't even have enough time to think about this. They're too caught up on in their own life, and it kind of sucks, that they don't have the time to spend on a lot of these things to dig deep, because everything at surface level, you would think, Elon's a piece of shit and he doesn't know how to do anything, right? So,
but I almost feel like that's because they put too much time in it instead of just thinking about it. Because like everyone at my Christmas parties, like, Gali, like, what do you think of Twitter? Or my Thanksgiving, right? Like a bunch of family friends. And they're like, I was wearing this sweatshirt actually, which is a little provocative, but I'm doing it. And they're like, what do you think of Twitter? Like, oh my God, Elon's right. And I was like, honestly, like, I know y'all think I'm crazy. Like, I actually think he's going to do Twitter. And I think it's going to be like great. And I'm like kind of getting ready for my Twitter to be bigger than ever and like go all in and like make it a hella big strategic career move for me. Like, that's what you asked me what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And then it's like, then they think about it and I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what? Everyone always says Elon's going to fail, but the dude has been more successful than any entrepreneur alive. Like, I kind of feel like an idiot if I bet against him. And when you frame it like that, all these people are like, you know what? You're right. Why did we think the entrepreneur is literally created? And when I say like the smartest, best entrepreneur in the world, I'm literally like the most market cap created in his life from nothing. Like, it's a scoreboard. This isn't like, and like, I hate how the Washington Post will be like, Galileo Russell, he's been heaping praise on Musk for years. It's like, you mean getting hella rich on his stock when I invested in it before anyone else? Like, they're like, I'm just some like wishy-washy idiot. It's like, no, like, I've been investing in this. We've been doing hella well. He changed the whole industry. His stock's outperforming every other big CEO. Like, it's like data and facts. I'm not like heaping praise on him because I think he's cool. I'm just like it should have, like, I don't know. So I think there's, like what I said, it's like the problem is they're reading too much. The problem is they're reading articles about how much of an idiot Elon is without stopping for 1 second and just thinking of the simple thing of like the world's most successful, richest dude in the world is making another business move. And every single one he's had is at a home run. And I'm going to bet against this one. It's like, bro.
Yeah, but I don't think it takes that much time to like, because I mean, that's all you have to do is read 7 headlines in the span of 5 minutes and you can very quickly form that opinion, right? I think it's the time required to sort of try and navigate that landscape to really get to the point of like, hey, let me just try to be unbiased and read both sides and arrive to a conclusion. I think the time required to get there is like 10x the time required for you to form say a baseline opinion of a person or a thing. And you're also right that there's a percentage of that population that will take the headlines and then they'll lean into the one extreme side of it instead of taking in both angles, and then that drives them deeper and deeper into the hole. Like, I'll give you an example. My wife and I went to a Korean barbecue joint here in Austin. Soul Jew, by the way. Shout out to Soul Jew. Not a sponsor of this video, but who cares? They're amazing. When you're in town, bro, let me know. I'll take you there. It's so good.
Okay, I'm hyped.
And I was talking to the owner. I was wearing my Tesla jacket. And he's like, we've talked to the owner every time we go there. He's so like, he talks to everybody. He's like, dude, the Tesla jacket, huh? I'm like, yeah, I used to, work, blah, blah, blah. He's like, dude, I gotta tell you, I fucking hate your boss, but I fucking love my 2 Model Ys. I'm like, cool. All right. That's a good signal. I'll take that. But it's like, and I didn't have a long form conversation, as to why he hated him. But I wonder how much of that hate just comes from, maybe there's a valid thing Elon did that made him really upset. Maybe there was some division, something he said that was divisive on Twitter, or how much of it is from a mainstream media publication that he's listening to that is just bashing Elon. A lot of the left-leaning, very, very left-leaning publications are going to be very anti-Elon because he's, billionaire evil person who doesn't know what he's doing on Twitter and is trying to limit everyone's speech, right? So it's just a fascinating thing. But then what it really comes down to is like when you actually talk to some folks, I think there's a separation between Elon, the individual, and the products that the companies that he's built are starting to take on. Like, they have a life of their own. And I think a lot of people in our community put those two things together because the guy who created them is very responsible for that. But I think we're at a point in time now where I think Tesla, the product, stands on its own, and you have perceived crazy person running the company for folks that haven't been following the story, and as deeply as we have, let's say, and they've maybe formed some biases, which again they have every right to do. But it's just fascinating to watch how that's sort of diverging. Whereas before, I don't think that may have been the case. That's a dynamic I'm noticing in this day and age as well, which is like it's really, really interesting to like sort of think through, because like I encourage everybody in this comment section, if you ever go out randomly and talk to random people, say you go out to a bar or whatever, or you're like shopping and you bumped into somebody and you're talking, so like, hey, what do you think of this Elon Musk thing? Like, have you been following this Twitter thing? And like 80% of the people are like, I don't have time. I don't have time. He sounds like a crazy person. You know the Tesla cars? Oh yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool, man. They're pretty cool. Like, that's the kind of conversation that sort of comes out of those. I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing, but
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's just
I mean, I'm in
fascinating.
Seattle, so
Oh boy.
I'm honestly thinking about moving from Seattle because it's so bad. Like,
Really?
yeah, like I don't know. It's just kind of like a whole like, and it's interesting. I'm very curious if if like we're in uncharted territory with such a big figure leading such a big company. Like, at what like will it like? I think at some level it's affected the brand. Where people are like Tesla's a little bit. I would say Tesla's 37% douchier than it should be because it's associated with Elon Musk. Like I'm not gonna lie,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling that. I'm feeling like I thought it was just like, dude, I had a cool electric car, but now it's like Tesla, Elon, like it's douchey. It's like, okay, like that's kind of a buzzkill. And then like you
Is
ask
that the
people
vibe you're
my
getting in
age,
Seattle when you're like driving
oh,
around?
dude,
Is that
Seattle's
yeah?
they're like, I would literally take any other electric car than a Tesla because like Elon Musk is running it, blah blah blah, and like I don't know, like I'm a single guy, like I go on the dating apps, right? Like I'm going on first dates with girls that ask me what I do. Like I kind of just had to like stop telling the truth, honestly, because it just can't turn
Wow.
into such a like just like they're like Elon Musk, like literally it feels like everyone in Seattle's been brainwashed with this like entrepreneurship is bad, Elon Musk is an evil horrible person, yet I am super passionate about climate change. So like I got into Tesla because I was so passionate about climate change and there was no hope for electric cars, and then we did it and now electric
Mm.
cars are the future. And then yet the person who did that like is hated by the people who say they love electric cars, and I'm just face to face with this like massive like dichotomy every single day. And then you dive into like I've had a bunch of conversations. I'm like, well, like okay, like they're like, what do you think? I'm like, honestly, like he's not that bad. Like I think he's fine. Like I think he's misunderstood. Like I think he's out here grinding, trying. Like fuck, I support it. Like, and I'm not gonna like hate on somebody because the New York Times tells me to. Like I'm over that. But then
Mm.
other people, it's like, well, why do you hate him? It's like, it's so hard they can't say why. If you ask them why, it's like, well, he's an asshole. He did that, it's unions. It's, he's an emerald mine. He didn't even start to, it's just one fucking bullshit after the next. And it's like, you actually don't know why you hate someone. What is the status quo of
Mm.
a very successful person? I just hate them, even though I don't know them. That's like where we're getting as humans. And I think, frankly, it's a symptom of like the wealth gap and the divide of people being in their houses, depressed, having jobs they don't like, and then blaming the rich people. And that's what happens in history.
I
And then you have
agree.
revolution. I don't want to say we're going to revolution, but I'd say we're closer than not. And that's the sentiment I feel and it's like, I don't know. It's personally something that really bothers me because I feel like it's like, fuck, like I worked so hard to start my company. Like I invested in Tesla. Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody like helped me. And I thought it was such a dope, like movement to be a part of. And I was like so inspired and kind of felt like I would like meet all these people who were so happy and like about that movement being created and like green energy like flourishing. And I feel like I've seen like like the people within Tesla are kind of happy about it, but the people outside of Tesla like don't get what's happened and don't appreciate it and don't care. And like that's kind of like broken my heart. Is it's like, okay, like at the end of the day, like I feel like we won, like I won because my Tesla investment went way up and the company succeeded. So it's like on against David Einhorn and like Bill Ackman, all these and Jim Chanos and all these people I thought were idiot billionaires. It's like, fuck you. Like I got the win, baby. Like I'm making guap. You're not. Like nobody cares about you. But then it's like, that's just such a dumb victory lap versus like humanity's saved. And nobody gives
Mm.
a fuck about like nobody in Seattle's like hyped. Like, dude, like I don't know. Maybe this is just like my own on one thing of just like, bro, like we should be fucking supporting Tesla. We should be like hyping up like people who buy Teslas because they're supporting this dope movement. Like, why is that? Why is our society so anti the solution?
Yeah.
It's killing me, honestly. Like,
Yeah. I've been battling with that for a little while myself, to be completely honest. I think a lot of people that have been following the company and the leader and Elon for as long as they have, that there is a tone shift for sure, towards sort of his personal brand, let's call it, right? There's the Elon Musk personal brand. Whereas, when you and I started following the company, green tech guy, super aspirational, what a great guy, super hard worker, a billionaire, but nobody really cares about that at that point. He's building this incredible company that's going to save the planet. He sounds amazing. He has a lot of charm, and it's very easy to like. He has a terrible public speaking skills, which makes it even more endearing that he's up there talking, and really pushing through and really trying his best. And now, like he's talked about attack vectors, right? It's just so easy. It's so easy for him to become a target now. And then if he makes actions that, or he does things that doesn't help him in that, say, group of people that view him negatively, it's just going to make him look way worse, right? It's going to make him look way worse. And that sucks. That sucks. As somebody that do I look up to Elon? Of course. He's aspirational for me. I wouldn't be making this freaking YouTube channel if it wasn't aspirational in some way. Like I really respect his work ethic. Is he perfect? No. But does he try to do good? I think so. But I do think that there's also and what I'm starting to live with now, or like I'm starting to really understand around the Tesla brand as an investor, is that I think the dynamic for Tesla is really just going to shift away from, unfortunately or fortunately, from beautiful mission, it's going to help humanity long term, to it's an incredible car that has the lowest cost per mile and it drives itself, so it gives me a lot of time. And yeah, the leader is a douche, but I can't not use the product, which is very similar to, say, an Amazon dynamic, where I bet you, how many people in Seattle love Jeff Bezos? My gut tells me probably the same number of people that love Elon, right? But how many of those people use next day delivery? How many of those people use Amazon on a daily basis? How many of those people never leave their house and they get literally everything online? How many of those people have Apple phones that's using, labor that's non-unionized in China? This is, to me, it seems to be a natural evolution of a company in this day and age. And is it unfortunate that a percentage of the population doesn't maybe, I don't know. It's their choice. In the end, it's their choice. Like I'm not going to try to go out there and try to change people's minds. They're welcome to feel however they want. But it's a dynamic change. And I think for Tesla investors, I think it's an important one to keep in mind, because it could feel like a signal. But to me, I really believe it's noise. It's just the natural evolution of a company. That's how I think about it. I don't know if that's sort of added anything to sort of how you're thinking about it, but it's weird. And it's fascinating, and it's such a sign of our time,
Very uncharted territories. I'm curious, can we talk about weren't you in the Vice? There's some Vice documentary that got shot that we were both in.
Yes,
which I don't know. It didn't come out yet, but they're working on it or whatever. I'm thinking about it.
Damn, you just blew up my spot, bro.
Nah, but nobody. We're deep in the live stream. Nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You can watch right now, right?
Yeah, 1700.
I know, but I think it's interesting because I did that, and I'm like, okay, like I want to give my time, like I want to tell my good side of the story. Like they're gonna make this hella big documentary about Tesla and Elon, like and it's gonna be so dope. They want to like make it go big. I want to get people to know the truth about how dope Tesla is. And so it's funny because I feel like I don't know what but I did the whole thing. It was a hella big commitment. Like I told some of my friends, and like, I'm telling them like this is so exciting. Like I'm about to be, and then I'm like joking because a lot of them hate Tesla or whatever, and I'm like, yep, like there's this documentary, I'm gonna look like the biggest fanboy ever saying how awesome Elon is, like just like supporting Tesla, and literally the look on some of my friends' faces is just like, bro, like no, dude, no, like cancel it, like this is gonna ruin you forever.
Come on.
Like this is literally the downfall. And they're like, bro, girls are like, I can't be associated with you now once that comes out. Like you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my God, like what world are we living in? And it's just like, literally I've started trolling people with it because I think it's so funny, like that people are like, oh my God, you like Tesla? That's like something I gotta hide about my personality. And then I'm like, well, guess what? Everyone's gonna know soon when this thing comes out. But I don't know. And it's just that going through that whole process, like after I did it all, and then I'm sitting on my couch for a little, I'm like, am I gonna look like the biggest idiot in the world for the things I think about Tesla on camera? Like, is that where we've come? Like, did I just shoot myself in the foot? Is this my downfall moment? I don't know. So I'm hoping funny. Like pieces like that will change the conversation eventually. And like, it'll be a cycle, like what you said, like Elon will be back, Twitter will be successful, Tesla will have made it. Like we'll kind of like get through to another like sunny days, So hopefully I'm optimistic, but now it's not,
Yeah. Well, I do think that process for me was very, very interesting, and I'm really glad I did it, because it really helped me understand, you know, because the guy Steve, I think is his name, right? The guy that's like running the thing. I was talking to the guy, like we went out to lunch afterwards, and I was talking, and he seems like a very honest guy that really just wants to tell a very just what the hell is going, like what happened, sort of, you know, thing, and he's trying to pull people that are very deep in the story, and it sounds like he's pulling people from the one side and then the other side, and I don't know if he's going to have a neutral thing, but the goal is like just let's tell a story. And what I'm really like interested in seeing is you know, for me, I just was honest. I was 100% honest. I'm like, this is how I view it.
Yeah.
I think it's net positive. I think it's hard to argue that it's not net positive. Are there flaws in the individual? Of course. Who isn't? Like, who doesn't have flaws? Do I think that there is it's well intentioned? Yes. Do I feel like it was worth being at the company? Of course. Do I regret anything about it? No. Like, you know, it's just being very honest about the story. But the perception of it, to me, I don't really think about it, because for me, it's like, I think it's important to just, like you said, tell the story. Just tell the story. You know, see your story, to tell how you experience this whole change in the world and this very unique thing that has come up. And yeah, I think the perception stuff's going to change. But here's the deal. The bigger the company and the individual get, the net number of people that are going to hate on people associated with that is going to go up 10x. But at the same time, the fan club is also going to 10x. But that 10x fan club ain't going to be as vocal as we are. They're going to be buying the cars. And they're going to be talking to each other, you know, like, oh, dude, this thing is so cool. Yeah, Elon's kind of crazy, man. But did you see what my Tesla can do? Like, I just think that the individual is going to become less and less central to the story. And it really becomes just, what is Tesla the car? What is going to offer me from my wallet, right? 80% of the people of the population, they make a lot of decisions based on their wallet. Like, how much does it cost? Can I afford it? Is it going to bring me happiness? Yes. Okay, I'm going to buy the damn thing. And then they do cross shopping. And if the thing is better than the other thing, great. It's just this unique figure has been attached to the brand, which has been do you see that poll? There you go.
I should
You
move
better
to
move,
Austin.
bro.
Okay, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Brooklyn's my first choice, but
Ooh, Brooklyn. My wife actually lived in Queens for a while. Yeah, it's a really, really cool city. But yeah, I think a phase. The net number of people that will hate on Elon is going to go up, but the net number of people that are going to be part of, say, the product is also going to 10x. But I do think those early days of like having this very I don't know, like that everybody seemed on board with how great this was, that was following the story. Those days are long gone, unfortunately. And I don't think they're ever coming back. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. I think they're gonna come back. Tesla's gonna in like 3 quarters, they're gonna announce some insane you know, they'll have another record quarter. The stock will be soaring again, and it'll be a whole everybody will be friends.
The loud voices will be heard much easier, though. I'll tell you that much. Like the people that are speaking loudly will be that. But then, you know, as far as like the net number of people that are going to be against it, it's still going to be large, but it's still going to be 5 to 10% of the total population. It's not going to be something crazy, I don't think. But
I mean, I think
do you have some time? Yeah.
Keep going.
Go ahead.
My bad.
No, please go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm curious, like, what the hell? Just like, it's interesting to think what Tesla's thinking about all this. Like, you know, they watch the Twitter sphere. You know, Elon's tweeting stuff. You know, Martin's tweeting stuff.
He's watching this right
now. They're
bro.
all like reading these ideas. You know, I wonder what are they thinking? Are they like Ross? Are they like Ross Gerber wants to get on the board? Are they like, maybe? Or they're like, this is a fucking joke. I can't believe we got to deal with this guy more. Like, I don't know which. It's probably a little of both, depending on who you're talking to. But that's what's going on, and I just think that's clowning. Like, to me, it's like we're already in a movie. I just like wish like we could see both sides of the movie I think it's I wonder what the hell, you know, and then it's Elon's on the conference call, like, we hear you guys on Twitter. We are, you know, think about the buyback. And it's like, okay, like, you're in here with this. Like, this is hella funny. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, I think it's a beautiful, like, the back and forth is beautiful. It's good to have the debates. You know what I mean? We're thoroughly debating the topic of a buyback. It's going to be well thought out.
Yeah, for sure. Like part of me like says, what is the greatest Elon Musk interview that I would love to do if he ever decides to come on the channel is like exactly what you just described. Just want to pick his brain, like as a human being. Like, bro, like walk me through what is going on? what is going, like, what are you thinking about? And of course, he's not going to say anything because he probably can't, because it's probably against NDA and all that stuff. But
I
it's
know.
so interesting. It's so interesting, dude.
I would love to gossip with him. I love gossip. I'd be like, dude, so like
Yeah,
crime,
me
like
too.
what happened,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know. I
I've
just feel
always
like there's
like I've
so
always
much
been very
gossip.
proud.
Like,
Yeah, me too. I'm like I always go to my wife. I'm like because sometimes there'll be some gossip, and I'm like, oh my god, tell me about it. She's like, get your own gossip. I'm like, I can't. I don't talk to enough people. Like my friends don't give me any drama. No, nobody I talk to has gossip. I need gossip from somebody. Maybe that's why I'm on Twitter all the time.
yeah, it's like, and you're like, yeah, none of your real friends want to hear about like the Twitter gossip that's going down. It's like, did
I
you hear
know.
what like Omar tweeted like in the
Yeah, yeah. It's so
Oh my
crazy.
god.
So
I think
crazy.
Omar would do a good job running Twitter. Also, I'll say that.
Okay.
That's one of
Shout
my
out
random
Omar.
votes because anyway, I like Omar. But
Nice. Should we do a little bit of Q&A, Gali, before we wrap this up?
yeah,
You cool with that?
let's do it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So in the comments, thank you all very much for joining us thus far. We peaked at 1750 something, by the way, viewers live, which is pretty awesome. Thank you all very much for joining us. Drop your question, put question before your question, type question in all caps with a colon. Drop it in the comment section, and then producer wife in the background will bring those questions up as we go through them. We'll have some chill music in the background during it too to set up the vibe because we're chilling and vibing out here. Okay. And then somebody's like, can we start over? No, rewind, bro. But okay. Let's start bringing up some questions here and we'll start hitting them up. Let's do it. What do we got? Producer wife, hit us. Hey. From Ty's Rose, question for Gali. What happened to Hypercharts? You guys made the best one-page overview of Tesla success.
Well, we shout out to Mo, he was the coder and my business partner. We sold it to Public, which is the investing app, and which was fire, but and now they own it and they shut it down and rolled it into their app, which my tweet was about. I wish they didn't shut down the website. But yeah, that's happened. It's a bummer. It's a website we built and we sold it and now I don't control it and it got shut down. And people are mad and I'm bummed and we're all out here learning. I don't know. I wish I had a bet. I'm trying to, yeah.
Do you regret it? You sound like you regret selling it, or no? Am I wrong in that?
I mean, I wasn't the coder, so it's easy for me to be like, this is what we should build. I have a whole vision and I'll try and do that. But I mean, I'm not like, I don't regret it. Like from a business move, it was like a hella big learning experience, like selling my first company, like learning how to do that, working with a thing that had users and revenue. Like that's a fire, like bootstrapping a company and selling it in 2 years. I'm like, I love that. Like that's learning. But also it's like, damn, like did we change our mission of like turning an SEC filing and like the way financial data is into a chart that anyone can understand and like disrupting financial research forever? Did that happen? No. And that makes me super bummed and I miss the site. But at the same time, this is what actually makes me hella happy is the design of Hypercharts that Mo and I worked so hard on, which is formatting all of those SEC financials into these simple pictures of like revenue, then gross profit, then this. And that format is like people are literally building clones of Hypercharts because they're so bummed it got shut down and then people are using it again. Like the idea is still spreading, so that makes me happy. But I don't know. I think I came up with a way to even disrupt Hypercharts that with an even better way to visualize financial data, which now I'm also scheming on. So we'll see what happens with that.
Nice. Can't wait to see it. Let's do the next one. I love this Christmas lo-fi. Shout out producer wife. Question. What are Gali's current thoughts on his latest FSD Beta? From Cindy Ray.
Oh my God. I wanted to do a... Also, I think Cindy Ray's the pepper person, so shout out. But I wanted to do the funniest video because I'm getting pho with my friends, Julian and his girlfriend, and he has the Tesla FSD Beta and stuff, and I'm in the back. And we get in, and she's like really like, I don't know, like she's like got a stomach ache. She like wants to go home, and Julian's like, it's like, do you mind if I do FSD Beta to get us home? And she's like, no, I actually want to get there and not get more car sick. And it's just like, that was end of discussion. And I'm just like there, I'm like, this is the state of FSD Beta. Every Tesla bro is trying to like activate it. And everyone in their family is like, no, it's slow and annoying, but the Tesla bros think it's good. And that's where I'm at with it. And it's like, I'll show it when somebody news in my car. But like, honestly, I haven't been using it that much because It's good. It's good, but I haven't been using it that much, so I don't know.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breckneck Trent, 1111. Thank you so much for your super chat. Farzad, why did you leave Tesla? Asking for my friend Nicholas. Yeah, for sure. So I left in September 2021. Had been a Tesla investor since 2012. I worked at the company for 4 years. My wife and I had a small business. We just were grinding for so hard, and we were just so fortunate to have financial independence around that time. And I sat down. It was during the COVID years, and then I'm like, okay, so what am I truly passionate about? Do I feel like I've made the impact that I wanted to make at Tesla? Do I feel like I built the teams that I wanted to build? And I felt like it was the right time to step away from me so that my wife and I can have more time and I can just sort of start creating my own path. So Tesla was an incredible learning lesson for me. Gave me so much. Oh my God, I owe so much to that company, to be completely honest, both financially, learning lessons, just so much. And this is the next chapter of my life. And what's really rewarding about this one is that I get to sit down with people like Gali and others and have really great conversations about the future, and to just discover more about myself as a person and develop skills that I've never had before. And that's, for me, that's the most enjoyable thing in my life right now. So, and I feel so freaking lucky. So freaking lucky. Thank you for the question. Let's do the next one. Maeve, question, Gali, what happened to Arcimoto?
I mean, Arcimoto, I mean, I was on the board for 1.5 years, and yeah, I mean, the company's struggling. What happened? I mean, my opinion, what happened is they didn't have Elon Musk is what happened. And they couldn't build their cars profitably. And if you say you're going to scale to hit production and you say you're going to hit certain profit margins, and then you just like whiff on those big, your company's going to fail. And yeah, I mean, Arcimoto is still going, but I'm not involved with them anymore, although I'm holding all my stock. I don't know. It's kind of a bummer, but I'm also like, the free market's the free market. I'm like, fuck, I wish every company I invested in could succeed. I wish every EV company could succeed, but like most of them are going to fail. It's super duper hard. So, yeah.
Has that experience given you any appreciation for maybe how big of a lead or just how much Tesla has done versus everybody else? Has that sort of planted a seed in your brain, being seen it firsthand? How do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I always say like Elon Musk is Michael Jordan. Everyone else is like kindergartners playing basketball. And that's like what's happening. It's just business is the game. And it's just that, like, those experiences are why I say that. Because I'll just get to a company and I'm like, dude, the conversation, like when I'm in the board of directors, I got thrust in at a crazy time. And like, I would try and shake shit up. There's not much you can do. But, like, I really tried to shake shit up. And I would be like, my opinion of what we need to do, fire every single person in the marketing department because we're spending like $5 million on them. They've literally done nothing, and like we need to fire them all immediately. And like the only person who's gonna have the balls to do that is Elon. And like he's like, and he probably wouldn't even let it get to that place. But it's just like that type of decision for every single thing. Like the machine, our partners want to give us this machine. This didn't even happen. I'm just making this up. Like this partners didn't even get this machine. It's late. And now we don't have it. What the fuck do we do? It's not like, oh, we'll just like let it be late. It's like, not like Elon's gonna go to the factory, figure it out all night, fucking deal with it. Like people just do not give him like anywhere near enough credit for how hard he works and how good he is at what he does. And that's what I've learned in every single other company. And that's what I do is I'm an investor, VCs, stocks, whatever. I'm studying leadership constantly. Who's the best CEO in the world? Who's the best value creator in the world? And it's just it's just time and time again, I learn how big of a gap there is between Elon and everyone else. And it's not like, I feel like that's not my opinion. I just feel like people aren't seeing the scoreboard. If you saw the scoreboard and Kobe has 500,000 points and the next dude, Stephen Curry, with 47,000, you'd be like, holy fuck. Like this is, the GOAT doesn't even do it justice. So that's what kind of I learned with Arcimoto. And that's not like Lucid's going to be screwed. They're just getting funded by the Saudis, but like the business, they're never making money. That's a failed company. That's just the zombie. Rivian still lose it. They still sell a car for 90,000 that cost them 400,000. So to me, Rivian's already bankrupt. It's just the market gave them way too much money in boom times, and we'll see if they can figure their shit out before they piss away all their money they raised, which is going to be really tough. So I think, to be honest, Arcimoto is a preview of what is going to happen to almost every single other company except Tesla. and it's just a bummer. But it's like, and I also kind of like some interesting insight, because this whole Tesla board of thing is like the only company I'd ever be on the board of directors. I don't really want to be on the board of directors of any company except for Tesla, and that's like a career thing. May or may not have even mentioned it to Elon, but and I don't know. So I kind of wanted to be on the board of Arcimoto as like learning. Like, here's a tiny EV company. Here's like them running out of cash. Here's them like, you know, having this crazy weird product that no one understands. Here's them building a factory from scratch. Like, here's a direct sales model. Like, there is, and here's like financing, product, marketing. It's just vehicle design. Like, everything I'm fascinated by. To learn about that and get a front row seat was crazy. And I feel like I learned so much. And my skill set was like, I want to be able to, if I want, when I'm 40 years old and I want to apply to be on the Tesla board of directors when I'm more serious in life, like, I think this experience is going to crush it for me. And like, whether Arcimoto fails or not, I'm going to have had like how many other, you know, people were at the front row seat of a failed EV startup in the midst of production, like at the factory all the time, you know, like that's some rare ass experience that I'm going to take with me forever. So I love that personally, but I don't know, man. I realize I'm pickier than ever about the CEOs I invest in, and not everyone's Elon. That's like what I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the candid nature of that. What that whole thing you just described, if I sort of use some lived experience, most people hate pain. Like 90 to 95% of the population, everybody hates pain, but 90 to 95% of the people are not willing to go through it. During disruptive and innovative times, you have to go through pain, and 90 to 95% won't, which means that 90 to 95% of the efforts that are created around that innovation will fail because people are not willing to go through the pain. Simple as that. And that's why if you read Innovator's Dilemma, look at in history, that's why businesses fail. That's why most businesses fail, because most businesses get disrupted and most people don't want to go through the pain. And that's just how it works. And once you have somebody that wants to go through the pain and he's surrounding himself with a bunch of people that are just as crazy as he is and they enjoy the pain, then that's you get Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter and all these other companies. So thank you for the candid nature there. I'm sure that was a tough thing to sort of think about again, but this is I think very valuable for people that are looking to learn. So I really appreciate you being open like that, Gali.
And I think it's good to like, not everyone you're not going to get wins all the time in your portfolio, and like being honest about your L's and talking about them and like learning from them with everybody, I think is super, like, that's one of my things I'm big on, you know.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. Let's do a couple more. So next question. Question: thoughts on Aptera? Either of you guys invested in it? I haven't. It's that sort of solar looking thing with the weird, like the 3-wheel thing, right? Have you doing anything about it, Gali?
I've heard about it. I will say, like, back to the Arcimoto, it's the same category. What I realize is like the vehicle startup is just the worst company to build. First principles of finance, like, you got to build a huge factory. I got to buy all the equipment. I got to spend 10 million up front, and then I get 20 grand a pop or 50 grand a pop from what comes out of the production line that costs me 40 grand. It takes me like, it is the shittiest business to start, building a vehicle. Tesla's made it look so easy that I just keep coming back to that. And that's like with Arcimoto and Rivian. I'm like, Rivian, dude, like we're still giving the halo effect to these companies as if they're Facebook and every incremental ad dollar is 100% to the bottom line. That's not the case. You still got to build the car. And if you don't have autonomy, then your margins are going to be horrible. And so I don't know. So I look at businesses like Aptera and I've learned the hard way that I'm not touching that shit. Like, that is going to be a garbo economics business. Like, I don't know. That's my, I don't know. Not even knowing anything about them. I'm just like, it's no, you know, and they have a bunch of promises and a bunch of hype. That's another thing that makes me be like, no, like, it's red flags.
This is 2 more. Next one. Jay, question: is there any way blockchain tech will be incorporated into Twitter somehow and add some kind of payment platform where you can donate to the people you support? This is an interesting question because we were talking about this sort of loosely, this concept of, you know, wallets and exchanging, you know, money for services and products or whatever. I think this gets done with or without blockchain. But the blockchain piece just becomes a question of how much is crypto part of that equation, I guess. How do you think about that?
Yep, great question. I think huge. Elon with PayPal, with X.com, payments is big, right? And I think we think about Twitter's business model. You know, you are not the customer, you are the product. If we're selling ads, all of a sudden, if you pay for $8, you are the customer. Twitter's serving you. If Twitter is your banker, you're the customer. And so I think them moving from the subscription to a premium banking platform, way bigger opportunity monetization wise than advertising, changes the whole incentives of the platform. The thing that the first time I ever used blockchain technology and thought it worked was when Ukraine happened, and I sent $100 on Ethereum network to essentially this group of people that were on the ground in Ukraine, and it happened like this. It was on a weekend. 100% of my money went to the cause. It happened in 2 seconds. I got the confirmation, and I was like, holy fuck, I actually use crypto, and it helped me better than fiat. I would have had to go to my bank. It would have taken weeks. Who the fuck knows what Ukraine bank it would have worked at? And so I had this aha moment of like, oh my God, like the banking infrastructure of crypto is so important, so powerful. And I think Twitter's about to just triple down on that. And we have not seen the digital identity tied to a bank account like successfully yet. And I think Twitter's going to really pull that off, kind of like the way PayPal was starting to. Game changer. I can send Farzad $100. I can get paid. Patreon's disrupted. So I think this is big. I think Jay is like, I think this is the big thing for Twitter is the payments. You know, how much of blockchain they need to integrate for that is going to be very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I have a lot of family in Iran, and Bitcoin is huge in Iran because the currency in Iran is a disaster, right? And so a lot of people use Bitcoin to transact value, you know, like some monetary value between each other. So it's like I think crypto in general has a giant amount of potential to stabilize, especially governments and currencies that are just unstable, and that in itself brings a ton of value. What percentage of the population will adopt that technology? I have no idea, but it has a use case and it's proven valuable. And I think that just continues into the future. So that's what I'm most excited about for sure with crypto. That's awesome. Let's do one more. The Crow, question for Gali. Any thoughts on Palantir? I have some thoughts, but I'm curious to hear yours.
Ooh, to be honest, I haven't followed this closely. I'm a very hyped on Anduril, and that's a company that I'm invested in with my VC fund, which I think is very similar to Palantir, but a little earlier and a little different. But I don't know. This is kind of not really my expertise, unfortunately.
Okay. I'll give my thoughts, and then maybe we'll do one more quick one. I think Palantir doesn't offer anything where 80% of other software companies can offer. And Palantir seems very slow in getting product development out. It's too expensive. It's too complex. Is the end product incredible? Yes. But what percentage of the population or the business population is really going to benefit from investing that much money in that kind of software suite? I think it's not very many companies. And so all you need is a snowflake or somebody else to step in, do 80% of what Palantir does, and then all of a sudden they have majority market share and Palantir becomes useless because over time you can just develop that new platform into what Palantir wants to be over the long term. So in my opinion, I don't think Palantir is all that, but I could be wrong. Yeah, let's do one more. John, thank you very much. $2 super chat. Love your channel and what you're standing for. Perfect. Let's just leave it there. Beautiful. Thank you so much. We'll do one more. Never mind. Gino. Thank you. What do you believe is needed for Tesla to realize its true value, not the highly discounted Tesla share price? What do you believe is needed for Tesla to realize its true value? What are your thoughts there, Gali?
Well, maybe a good place to end it is just kind of the seesaw of in your head of like, do I think the real value of Tesla is? You know, right now it's trading for 450 billion. I think it's worth 600 billion now and going to this. And that pendulum of like what earnings you're pricing in, what future product success you're pricing in when you swing the bat, that's just kind of everything. And so it's like, okay, like the more the stock price goes down, the more those expectations shrink, the less earnings we're expecting. So the more attractive that swing of the bat. And that's where everybody has to decide where they want to swing the bat. And when the math in their head gets compelling enough to where there's such a discount to the true value, and I'm so confident in my calculation of true value that I'm going to deploy capital. And that's the only thing you got to think about. There's no noise. There's no anything. It's one number. What do you think the fair value of Tesla is? What price are you willing to pay? And just your confidence and research in that is everything, you know? Perfect. Beautiful. Let's just end it there. Gali, thank you so much, man. I had a blast. My God. What an awesome conversation. Super wide ranging. Just a lot of great stuff. Hopefully it was valuable for the audience. Thank you everybody in the comments that has left comments, asked questions. Thank you for producer wife in the background producing this whole thing and playing some dope ass Christmas lo-fi. Thank you very much. Any parting words? No, thank you so much. Good luck with the channel. Sorry if I rambled too much. And yeah, stay positive. I hope everyone has an awesome Monday.
Thank you, man. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you, Gali. We'll see you around. Peace out, everybody.